Amazingly, God's creation was done in such a perfection that its existence still faces reality today. When God came to the end of His creation on the seventh day, it tells us in Genesis that He rested on the seventh day. It wasn't a rest because He was tired, because God could not get tired. He has all power. He rested because He had completed His plan. And that plan was completed in perfection. And so He needed to do nothing more. You know, when we do a job, when we have a task that we're completing, we will bring it to what we say is a finished point. But then we look back at it and we say, well, I should have done this. Maybe next time I'll do it this way. We never come to a perfect ending. Look at commercialism today. How many new phones do we get every year? Because man is not capable of coming to perfection without God. And so we have to have another phone. We have another automobile every year. Different model. Could they not come to a point where they could create one that would last forever? Potential is there. You see, we don't comprehend this, and besides, in commercialism, if we don't keep making them, we don't get money. And the people are so stupid, they'll buy them if we put them out there. And so we're going to get everything they got. So every year we get 3 new phones, 45,000, 50,000, and I got to have a new phone. We stand in line all night. You get a new phone, what's wrong with the old one? We have become slaves of commercialism, slaves of man, and we don't even understand it or recognize it. But when God completed creation, on the seventh day He rested. That term, that word 7, has a connotation to it in Hebrew that says God made a covenant with His creation. It was complete, it was perfect, it was finished. Covenant. We look around us and we see failure all around us, but God doesn't fail. God is perfect. And even though for a period of time it might look like, in our evaluation, things have failed, they haven't. We're looking in the wrong direction. And therefore we do not find the security, the peace that really is ours. It's amazing how if you read the Scriptures with the leading of the Holy Spirit, you see things which you don't see with the natural eye or the natural understanding. I have always had a lack of understanding of Revelation. Revelation is one of those books of the Bible that, boy, why did they put this on the end? You don't want to read it, but yet it says if you read it, you're blessed. How can you be blessed when you see all these things going on? But if you read it with understanding, in the middle of it, you see the throne of heaven. And you see the altar. And you see the angels singing and praising and worshiping. All this is going on all around. But here in the midst of it is this perfection of peace and perfection of worship to the one who created everything. All the things that are going on, do not distract them from the praise. And perhaps it's speaking to us, and perhaps it's saying to us, this is the way you're supposed to be. Yes, the world may go on and may have all kinds of problems, but I'm with you. So why do you fear? Why are you anxious? Why are you worried? I'm with you. I made a covenant with my creation. I will not fail them. They are perfect. The enemy came in the middle of that, deceived man, and planted so much fear, anxiety, stress, death, sickness, disease, that we haven't gotten rid of it all yet. Even though Christ came and set us free. But our understanding or our holding pattern has been by the evil rather than by the good. And so we still see things that we shouldn't be seeing. We should be acting on things that keep us busy. I don't know if this happens to you, but it happens to me, and I assume I'm not so weird. You're reading the scriptures, and your mind is thinking something else. You're listening, you're wanting to know from God, and yet your mind is, tomorrow I'm going to have to do this, later I'm going to have to do that. They're fixing lunch for me now, or we have these things going on, yet God said, we're reading, but we're not receiving. This is part of life. Not life as God created it, but life that has come upon us because of evil. And we have not yet come to a point where we have renewed our mind so that we can prove the will of God. And in that proving is perfection. Why? Because in Genesis, what God did was perfect. So the task is there, but also not only the task is there, but there's something ahead of us that's coming we haven't reached yet that's going to bring out that perfection and that joy that comes in the greatness of God's love and commitment to us. We see just a little hint of that in Deuteronomy today, because the children of Israel, they were upset with God because God corrected them. They didn't want to hear from Him anymore. Don't talk to me. Don't tell me these things, because you're just going to tell me this and tell me to do that. I don't like that. Many of us are the same way. When we get disciplined or corrected, we defend ourselves. We don't accept it. We get upset. We get angry. Sometimes we react. I don't want to hear you. But sometimes that voice is meant for something good, not bad. They're not condemning. They're wanting to help. After 40 years of God not speaking to people, they cried out to God and said, please speak to us. We want to hear your voice. It's like maybe a friend, a very close friend, that maybe you got upset with him for a while, and so there was a separation that took place. But after a while, you began to, wow, I wish I could talk to them. I wish that they would contact me. I wish we could have the same fellowship we had before. The longing for that comes back. And that's what happens here in this portion of the Old Testament. People of God cried out to God, please talk to us. Please talk to us. And He tells them, yes, I will talk to you. I will send prophets that will speak to you. But they will only speak what I tell them to speak. They will bring commandments to you which will be for your benefit and for your good, so that you will not get into trouble, so that life will not be filled with misery, but so that life will be filled with that comfort and joy that I've intended you to have. This is what he promised to them. He had the ability to do that. So he was answering their prayer. They had missed his voice. They missed hearing him. So he said, I'll send prophets. They'll talk to you. He wasn't going to come himself. Not yet. But he was going to send those who will speak for him in his behalf. And he said, if they don't tell you what I said, if they tell you what somebody else said or what they want you to say, they'll die. They'll pass away. It may not be a physical death, but it may be just being ignored. We see here God's patience. We see here compassion. We see his loving commitment. You don't want me to talk to you? Okay, I won't talk to you for a while. But I'm still going to take care of you. I'll still feed you every day. I'll cause the sun to be warm every day so that the crops will grow. You'll be taken care of. I'm not going to desert you. I won't talk to you because you don't want it. But I will take care of you. Many times we don't have time to listen to God. And sometimes we tell him, later, God. But even in that roughness, rudeness, uncultured attitude, God's still there. And he's still guiding us and helping us. In the New Testament, it talks about freedom that we've been given. And how that in reality there's only one God. Yeah, there are others who claim that they're gods, but there's really only one. And I set you free. There was this problem in that particular time in Corinth, where that foreign gods or false gods were making sacrifices of animals. And then after the sacrifice, they would sell the meat in the market. And the meat then was meat that had been offered to a foreign god or a god that was not real. And so some people wouldn't buy the meat and eat it. Others, they just bought, never mind. They had the attitude, false god, it's a nothing. What power does it have? I can eat the meat, it won't affect me. And true. It was true. There's only one God, and that's the only God with power, the only God with authority. But God said to them through the prophet, through the apostle, yes, that's true. Those things offered to the other gods, the gods of evil, they have no power. They will not affect you. However, if the fact that you eat that meat causes your brother to stumble, you shouldn't eat the meat. Don't cause another. Don't use your freedom, your liberty, for your own sake and not be considerate of others. No, many times what we say, it's their problem. It may not be their problem. It may be our problem. Because if we cause them to stumble, their blood is on our hand. And so we may have to sacrifice for ourselves, when in reality, it has no power over us, but for the sake of someone else. Now here God again is speaking. When God spoke to Israel in the beginning, they got upset with him because they corrected him. We can do what we want. The New Testament now says, wait, yes, you have the right to do whatever you want, but you also have a responsibility to use what I've given to you properly. and not use it in an offense to someone else. So you hold back for yourself to help others. Here was God again showing His authority, His power. Yes, that meat, even though it was offered to a false god, big deal. Nothing to it at all. Go ahead and eat if you want. However, it won't affect you, but if a brother who is weak doesn't understand and you cause him to stumble, then his blood will be on your hands. So we have to take what God has given to us and use it not only for ourselves. You know, we're living in a society today where basically we are self-centered people. We think only of ourselves. We don't really pay attention to anyone else. If you don't believe that, try driving on the highway. Tricycle will just pull right out in front of you. A motorcycle will pull in front of you. Car coming the other way will come right at you. Near our road, they have a section of the highway cut out because they're resurfacing it or blocking it. And so it's only one lane. So you have to wait your turn to go through that portion. I'm going through that, and here comes a truck coming from the other way. He pulls over right in front of me. We don't think, like brain dead or lacking. We do what we want for ourselves, not realizing sometimes it could be our death. How many motorcyclists are killed every day in this city? At one time, there's a report there were 400 in one day. Because we don't have that discipline, that correct attitude of respect for others. We think only of me. You know, who ever heard of a phone taking pictures? Huh? A phone is a phone. This is what the phone works on. The ear. No, now the phone takes pictures. But we don't want to be missing in the pictures, so now we've got selfies. You see them along the side of the road, especially along the zigzag after Antipolo. They all the motorcyclists, they stop and they got these cameras out there. Taking a picture of the mountains behind, but here I am in the middle. I was here. Selfish. Selfies. Selfies. We're a selfish generation, and we must recognize that. We must consider others, because if we don't, we're going to have their blood on our hands. We must consider and think, how is this affecting them? Yes, I have the right. My right. But if I cause them to stumble, I fail, even though it's my right. I have to take this liberty, this joy, this freedom God has given to me, and I must use it responsibly. Doesn't mean I bow down to every sin, don't misunderstand that. But I have to use what I have been given by God with respect. The gospel today is a very powerful message to us in this area of authority and respect. Jesus comes to Capernaum, and according to his habit, when it's time to go to the synagogue, he's there. Even though he doesn't totally agree, perhaps, with their doctrines or their practices, whatever it might be, he goes. And for some reason, he gets to speak. He gets to teach. I don't understand that, but I do understand the fact that God gave him authority and power, and even people who don't like him, Let him do what he wants to do. So he teaches. And the people are amazed. They say, what is this? Teaching with authority. Like he knows what he's doing. He understands what he's speaking. Well, that doesn't say much for the high priest or the scribes or the others. They obviously just told stories. It's a shame a lot of ministers or priests today, that's all they do. They don't really speak out of their heart with authority. When he finished, there was a man there who had an evil spirit, an unclean spirit. And when Jesus had finished speaking, this spirit speaks up. I know who you are, Jesus of Nazareth. What are you trying to do to us? He speaks, this evil spirit speaks out. It doesn't tell us that Jesus confronted him yet. But all of a sudden, having listened or heard the teaching and the authority with which that teaching came, he reacts and he speaks out. Why are you here? What are you trying to do? He speaks out and he just says, what's this? What do we have to do with you? Why are you here bothering us? Why don't you go someplace else? You come to destroy us? Well, you see, the demon knew Jesus. He knew. He knew Jesus even though the people that were the Jews, they didn't know who he was. The demon did. He understood. He knew what was going to happen to him. He said, are you here to destroy us? Too bad that they didn't have John 10:10 at that point. Which says, you know, this is what evil spirits do. This is what I do. But also, they didn't have 1 John 3:8, which says the Son of God appeared for this purpose. Why was he there? That he might destroy the works of the devil. That was his whole purpose in life. That he might destroy the works of the devil. God, when Christ spoke to the evil spirit, he said, be quiet. Very politically correct. I would have said, shut up. But he didn't. He was politically correct. Be still. He told him to come out. But the evil spirit first caused the man to have convulsions. As I was looking at this, I was thinking, what's he trying to do? Maybe see if he couldn't discourage Jesus to give up. It got worse instead of better. All of a sudden now the man's having convulsions. Wow, what did I do? I thought I was, getting him freed from this, and yet it got worse. Maybe he'll go home. But Jesus didn't leave. But it also doesn't say that Jesus said anything. He just simply stood there. Then the evil spirit tossed the man to the ground. Oh, now look, he died. Look what I've done to this guy. Jesus didn't think that. He stood there. Finally, the evil spirit had to leave because he wasn't going to fool Jesus. Jesus had the authority. He had the power. And he used the authority and the power. If there's anything we need today to understand is that when evil comes our way, it cannot stay if we are diligent to hold on to the fact it has to go. It cannot stay. It has no right, because I have been set free by Christ. In the season of Epiphany, I believe what the church is wanting us to recognize and understand is that God has the authority, that when He said He set us free, He meant it. He restored us. You talk about what it says in John 10:10, I've come that you might have life and that you might have it abundantly. If you put this together with Genesis, Adam had abundant life. He had no need. He had everything provided. There was no turmoil, there was no stress, there was no anxiety. He had the ability to take care of the animals. He was cultivating, he was keeping. All this, he had the abundant life. That's the desire of God for each of us, the abundant life. But when he talks about the abundant life, it doesn't talk about gold, it doesn't talk about pesos, it doesn't talk about dollars, it doesn't talk about houses, it doesn't talk about cars, it doesn't talk about, it's life, the abundant life. What we do with that life then really is up to us, but he has given to us an abundant life, a life that has the ability and the potential and the power within it. It's there. It's there. Yes, things can go wrong, but you have the authority and the power to overcome them. For what purpose? To destroy the works of the enemy and to bring glory to God. That's the purpose of our life, to bring glory to God. And if we don't have the struggles, we cannot be an overcomer. We can't be a conqueror unless you're conquering something. There has to be a mountain there to conquer. But God gives us the authority and the ability. He's with us. He is our strength. Several portions of Scripture, especially in John, it talks about how that from Him, through Him, and to Him, there are several different ways that it's put together. But it shows us that everything has its source in Him. If it has its source in Him, that perfection is there. And He brings it to us, and He sustains us in that. Sustains us in the midst of the turmoil, the stress, and the anxieties. I mentioned the picture we get in Revelation. The Eucharist in the middle of all this going on in the world. Peace in the middle of it. Worship in the middle of it. Not affecting the one sitting on the throne. Not affecting the men around worshiping or the angels dancing. No, not affecting them. Yes, that's going on, but there in the midst of that worship is the peace that God has given to man. In the midst of the turmoil around us in life, we are to have that peace because we can come through it with God's grace and His mercy and His ability to overcome, to bring glory to Him. He gives all, He sustains all, that we can give glory back to Him. It's a circle of life. Coming from Him, functioning through us, and going back to Him. He is with us. He will not fail us. He will not forsake us. We are here as His children to bring glory to Him. To bring praise to Him. The world may be filled with evil, maybe, but the enemy has lost its power. John 12:31 says, now judgment is upon the world. Now the ruler of this world shall be cast out. He doesn't have the authority anymore. God has taken care of it. John 16:11, the ruler of this world has been judged. The enemy has been judged. We have much to give God thanks for. The enemy doesn't have the power, God does. He is our source of life. He sustains us. He sustains us. We may be down for a while. There's a reason for it, and He's bringing us out, doing what God is giving us the ability to do. Cora was sending me a text, and she was saying that she hadn't slept well the night before. She said the pain was so bad, she couldn't sleep. But rather than fretting or being anxious about what was going on there, she said, I realized this pain was a sign this body is adjusting to the healing that God is giving me. That's an attitude that will bring us through. See, sometimes we don't want pain. You go to a doctor, they'll give you a pain pill to eliminate the pain. I don't think that's good. That's me. Not judging the doctor, me. I want to feel the pain. I want to know what's going on. Because if I don't feel that, I'm not cautious, I may overdo something, but also I'm not aware that something needs attention. And with Cora, she was saying it was God at work. Her body was adjusting to the healing process of God. An attitude which brings healing. An attitude which brings healing. Her brother, who was a doctor, told her, the reason many people come through difficult medical situations is by attitude. If their attitude is right, they can conquer. If they give in to the pain, if they give in to all these things, then they'll collapse, they'll fail. This mind that God has given to us is very powerful. Renew your mind and prove the will of God. Because what He's given to us is here. He's with us. He is with us. He will not fail us. We may reject Him, but He will not fail. God's given us much. And Epiphany is encouraging us. Be aware. God is with you. God is there. Even though you don't recognize Him, even though you ignore Him, He's at work. Yes. He's feeding you every day. He's giving you sustenance. He's taking care of you. He breathed life into you. He's there. The air is there to sustain you. Even if you're denying Him, He's doing the work because He won't fail. When we recognize Him and we take advantage of this, then we get the benefits of it. That's the beauty. So in Epiphany, let us recognize God is with us. Here's one time when you can be a little selfie. God is with me. Yeah, but He's also with all of us. That's the beauty of God's commitment to us and His love for us. Epiphany. God with us. We are blessed. Please stand.